Assalamualaikum dear students, this is Qaisar Bashir. I welcome you in the second part of the video on the poem My Mother at 66. As you know, in the previous video, we did the reading of the poem, learnt meaning of some difficult words, understood the explanation and the message. Right? Well, in today's video, I will give you the summary of the poem. I will talk about the poetic devices and I will also deliberate on some important questions given at the end of the English textbooks Flamingo for class 12th and Tulip series for class 10. So without further ado, let's get started. Summary. Dear students, the poem begins abruptly with Kamala, the speaker of the poem, saying that she was driving from her parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning. Her mother, 66 years old, was sitting beside her in a vehicle. She was dozing and her mouth was wide open. Her face looked as pale and grey as ash. It looked lifeless like a corpse. The lifeless and pale face of her mother pained her heart. To divert her attention from the saddened look of her mother, the poet looked outside. The world outside was full of life and activity. The young trees seemed running past. The children who were rushing out of their homes looked happy and carefree. After the security check at the airport, the poet, standing a few yards away, looked again at her old mother. Seeing her mother's pale and colorless countenance, she felt pained. Her face looked paler like the late winter's moon. This aroused in her the old familiar ache, her childhood fear, that she might lose her mother. However, she controlled herself. She pretended to be normal. She found a smile on her face while bidding goodbye to her mother. She wished to see her old Amma again. Dear students, let's now talk about the poetic devices. The poet has used various poetic devices in the poem, like imagery, simile, personification, juxtaposition, repetition, etc. What is imagery? Well, imagery means use of visually descriptive language in a literary work that makes the literary work pictorial or photographic. In the poem My Mother at 66, the poet has used various images to drive home her feelings and emotions. For example, my mother, those open-mouthed, her face ashen like that of a corpse, young trees sprinting, merry children spilling out of their homes, worn, pale as a late winter's moon. Simile. What is simile? Dear students, simile is a comparison of two dissimilar entities which have one similar quality. We use words like as, then, so to make a comparison. In the poem, under discussion, the poet has used the following similes. Number 1, her face ashen like that of a corpse. Number 2, as a late winter's moon. Personification. What is personification? Dear students, giving human characteristics to animals or plants or non-living things is called personification. In the poem, the example of personification is young trees sprinting. What is juxtaposition? Well, placing two or more things or ideas or images side by side to compare or contrast or to create an interesting effect is called juxtaposition. The example of juxtaposition in the poem is images of an old mother and merry children. Repetition. What is repetition? Dear students, a word or phrase repeated in a line to create a poetic effect is called repetition. For example, smile and smile and smile. This is the finest example of repetition that the poet has used in the poem. Dear students, let's now understand some important textual questions. Question number 1. How does the poet describe her mother in the poem My Mother at 66? Answer. In the poem, the poet describes her mother as pale and weak, just like a dead body. Question number 2. Why is the mother compared to that of a corpse? Answer. The mother's face is compared to that of a corpse because it has lost all its glow and youth due to aging, and now it looks pale and colorless, like the face of a dead body. Question number 3. Why is the mother compared to the late winter's moon? Answer. Well, old age is the last phase of a human life, just as winter is the last phase of a year. And in old age, a man grows pale and weak, just as the moon in the late winter looks weak and pale. This is why the poet compares her mother to the late winter's moon. Question number 4. What image does the poet use to describe death in the poem? Answer. The poet uses the image of late winter's moon to describe death in the poem. Question number 5. Cite an example of juxtaposition or device of contrast that the poet uses in the poem. Answer. Merry children and old mother like images is an example of juxtaposition or device of contrast in the poem. This device explains a common phenomenon, that is, childhood is a period of happiness, energy and hope, while as old age is a period of sadness, weakness and pessimism. Question number 6. Smile and smile and smile is a poetic device. What is it called? Answer. When a word or a phrase is repeated like this in a poetic line, it's called repetition. Question number 7. What does the expression "See you soon, Amma" signify? Answer. The expression "See you soon, Amma" signifies hope that the mother and the daughter will meet again. Question number 8. Why does the poet use the word smile repeatedly? Answer. The poet uses the word smile repeatedly to hide the pain of a separation from her old mother.